what is best in life. Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women.
What is it you seek?
A standard. A symbol. Perhaps on a shield. Two snakes coming together.
The secret of steel has always carried with it a mystery. You must learn its riddle, Conan. You must learn its discipline. For no one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust. You.
Now out on 4K Blu-ray is Conan the Barbarian and the sequel The Destroyer from Arrow Video, available both separately or as part of a box set titled The Conan Chronicles. That comes with a detailed book, postcards and posters. Being a fan of the 1982 classic, I was very excited Arrow had announced they were doing a new edition, as the label had done great work with their remaster of Dune, and like Conan, produced by Dino De Laurentiis and distributed by Universal Pictures. Being based in the UK, these new Blu-rays are only available in the USA, due to a licensing issue. As 20th Century Fox, well 20th Century Studios now, since Disney purchased them a few years back, they hold the rights over here, and in America it's Universal. These 4K discs are region free, but bear in mind the Blu-ray that comes with Conan the Barbarian, that includes all the special features, is region locked. You'll need a region free player to access that disc. Conan the Destroyer has all the content on one 4K disc, so you won't encounter any issues with playback. Conan the Barbarian was released in 1982 and was a big hit, and made Arnold Schwarzenegger a movie star worldwide, and to this day is a firm favourite with Arnie fans and those who love their fantasy adventures. Shot on 35mm anamorphic film with a 2:35:1 aspect ratio, the movie has always looked pretty spectacular, so 9 times out of 10 when it comes to transferring films to 4K, features shot on 35mm celluloid will often look fantastic, far more eye-catching than those shot on digital. Conan the Barbarian has generally looked pretty good on home video over the years. The Laserdisc had a great transfer for its time, the DVD was no slouch, and the eventual Blu-ray releases retained a solid image that in my eyes looked pretty faithful to how the film originally looked. It exhibits a very earthy design, with browns and beige being the prominent colour, with limited reds, blues and greens. Only the characters in the story that were wealthy had colourful outfits. So seeing this new transfer for a film I was very familiar with was quite a shift. The film now has a far warmer colour palette, still retaining that original look however, but with the HDR upgrade we are seeing those reds, blues and orange colours just pop off the screen. Film grain is very visible throughout. Arrow haven't scrubbed it out, keeping the grain intact to retain the detail. The experience of watching this was very satisfying. It's a solid transfer of a 35mm print, getting full marks from me. I suppose getting 5 Arnie grunts out of 5. Conan famously had a mono track on release for its sound, with the producers not wanting to put the money in for a stereo mix. Over the years the film got remixed into Dolby Digital 5.1, and with this new edition it's been upgraded to Dolby Atmos. The Atmos track only seems to give you that sense of surround with Basil Polidorus' incredible score, and when Conan is out in the wild, and you have that sound of the wildlife and the street vendors as he walks into a populated area. But for the most part the sound is very centred, like its original mono mix, thus not feeling like a natural surround sound, but instead feeling pieced together to spread across all the channels. It certainly doesn't sound bad, but Conan has always had this dated quality to its original recording, which may be quite fitting for the movie, with it dealing with the fictional Hyborian age. This new edition includes 3 cuts of Conan the Barbarian, the theatrical cut which was shown in US theatres with a runtime of 127 minutes, the international cut which is 2 minutes longer and includes an extra scene of the princess during the film's climax, as well as an alternative text crawl and voiceover. The extended cut includes all of this plus an extra scene between Conan and Subotai, added by director John Milius for the collector's edition DVD in 2000. This cut is the one I'm most familiar with. As with all new re-releases of classic movies, film fans like myself wonder if they will come with any new special features. With this being an Arrow release, you can expect something new to be added to the existing archival material. So Conan the Barbarian includes all the old making-ofs, interviews and featurettes from previous releases on DVD and Blu-ray, plus a new commentary by Paul M. Salmon, who wrote the fantastic Future Noir, and even a book on Conan in 2007. He has appeared in dozens of documentaries as the guy is a walking encyclopedia of knowledge, and he provides great insight into the making of Conan, far more informative than the one provided by director John Milius and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnie seems to think he's providing a commentary for the blind, and just ends up porting out stuff. It's very funny though. The new extra interviews include one with William Stout, who worked as a storyboard artist on the film. Stout is always interesting to hear when he talks about his career. He mentions his friendship with production designer Ron Cobb and reading the script for Conan the Destroyer and hating it. Stout went on to be a production designer on Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe. Live the adventure.
Costume designer John Bloomfield is interviewed. He revealed he got fired from Flash Gordon and wound up working on Conan a week later. He found it amusing he got fired and hired by the same production team. John would work on a sequel and other movies such as Superman 4, Robin Hood Prince of Thieves and The Mummy. Special effects technicians Colin Arthur and Ron Hone talk about making a fiberglass blade for Arnold to use, as the original hero's sword was so heavy and a risk to others on set. The actor who played the young Conan talks about being cast and how he didn't know about the comics, and had to wear blue contact lenses to match Arnold's eyes. There's an interview with Jack Taylor, who played the priest, the assistant editor Peck Pryor, who discusses the rules of editing a big picture, and how the assistant works with the main editor. A great and informative interview. A familiar face of bonus material is Peter Curran, who chats about his work providing the animated visual effects with Catherine Keane. And we have 3 interviews with fans of Conan, one being with the director of The Northman, who loved the world building and mythology in the film, John Walsh, who wrote the official history of the film. This interview is really interesting, with John providing some additional trivia I hadn't known before. And we have an interview with the author who wrote a book on director John Milius. Conan the Destroyer was released 2 years after the original. The producer, Dino De Laurentiis, wanted to increase the box office takings for the sequel and wanted a less violent movie to appeal to a wider audience. They hired writers from Marvel Comics to pen the script, so the sequel took a more fantastical direction with more magic and monsters thrown in. The film did perform better at the box office, but critically the reviews weren't as positive. The fans complained it lacked the grittiness and violence, added too much humour, and despite being a sequel, it felt so different tonally and was sadly lacking John Milius' direction. The Conan sequel, like the original, has been treated well on home video, with a decent transfer on DVD and Blu-ray. The film was photographed by the legendary cameraman Jack Cardiff, so the film does look stunning with a fantastic glow to the lighting, taking on a softer look. The world of Conan is expanded greatly to focus more on the fantasy world we saw from the books and Marvel Comics, so there is a wider colour palette to the production and costume design. So naturally the film jumps off the screen more easily than, say, Conan the Barbarian. But in terms of picture upgrade over the previous Blu-ray release, I didn't see much of an improvement. The skin tones on the 4K are a tad more saturated. There is of course an extra level of detail due to the increased resolution, but it didn't wow me at first. This is not to say the transfer is subpar, it's spot on. It's just the previous Blu-ray transfer was pretty impressive, and the 4K Blu-ray continues with a solid transfer with some extra details and a stronger boost in colour. To my surprise, Conan the Destroyer was also screened back in 1984 with a mono mix, again the producers not wanting to spend the cash, as Dino De Laurentiis and his daughter were both working simultaneously on Dune and the Conan sequel. Dune was very much prioritised with control and funding, and was given a big 70mm Dolby 6-track presentation on release, whereas Conan the Destroyer was given the bare minimum with the sound. The 4K Blu-ray includes the original mono mix and a beefed up Dolby Atmos mix. The mono track didn't sound quite as dynamic as the one given to the original film. It sounded pretty quiet and flat. Hearing the jump to Atmos, it's a massive leap in quality. Any film with a score by Basil Polidorus needs to be in full stereo, and the Conan sequel doesn't disappoint in the sound department with its upgrade with a Dolby mix. Special features had been produced in the past for Conan the Destroyer, with interviews with the writers and commentaries provided by the director Richard Fleischer, some of the cast members including Sarah Douglas and film critic Kim Newman. The latest commentary is again with Paul M. Salmon, returning to provide tons of information. There are less new extras with the sequel, with interviews with Joanna Ray, who cast the movie, John Bloomfield again discussing his work for the sequel, art director Kevin Phipps discusses working back-to-back on Dune and Conan the Destroyer, stunt coordinator Vic Armstrong chatting about working on Dune, then jumping onto Conan 2, he assisted the cast with the horse training, and he revealed it was the most fun of his career working on the film. And finally we have author John Walsh, again chatting about the history of the sequel and why things didn't work out for the movie as they had hoped. As we are seeing many of the big studios trying to move away from physical media, With their desire to push everything to streaming so you don't actually own the content and they can take it away at any moment, having physical media is more important than ever. And the boutique labels such as Arrow and many others are keeping the market going. I'm surprised Universal Pictures themselves didn't do anything with Conan, as they are still putting out Blu-rays, but I think many of the studios would rather license out their back catalogue and let other labels invest in a new edition, which I'm more than happy to see, as often the big labels don't put much effort into their new releases anymore. It's not like back in the day where they put all their efforts into a new DVD release. Their quality control now is often clumsy and amateur, especially Warner Bros.' recent efforts on the Superman 4K box set. And most often they include no special features, just a 4K transfer and that's it, with a marked up price. Paramount Pictures, for example, are a bit like that, bare bones 4K discs, and they want £20 for it. No. This Arrow set is what I want to see more of, independent labels getting hold of the classic genre movies that were big hits, not just cheap schlocky horror films, but well crafted movies that inspired a generation, and giving them the treatment they deserve. So in summary, this Conan set is great, so go buy it, and make Conan's god Crom happy.
Crom.
Do you want to live forever?
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and click the bell to be notified of my latest retrospectives and reviews. Big thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to get involved and gain early access to my content and exclusive videos, then follow the link below.